Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you. Today, we're going to be talking about why, in my opinion, fat acceptance and body positivity are not the same thing. And the reason I'm talking about this now is because I talked about it in my Fat Girl Flow reaction, and I said I could make a whole video on the topic and to let me know if you wanted me to do that, and a lot of you said that you wanted me to do that, so I'm here doing that. I've also just mentioned it in a few other videos of mine, so I figured it was just time to elaborate further on the topic. If you've watched any of my videos surrounding fat acceptance, you'll know that I am of the belief that fat acceptance and body positivity kind of started off as two separate things on the internet, but now fat acceptance has definitely overtaken body positivity and, in my opinion, kind of ruined it. So to start off, I wanted to give an overview of the history of body positivity and fat acceptance. And I know that Wikipedia is not the most reliable resource on the planet, but Wikipedia actually had very good breakdowns of the history of these two movements, and from what I already knew, and worded it really well. So the next couple minutes is just gonna be me reading from that. So just sit back and enjoy yourself. I've been told I have a very relaxing voice. So yeah, just sit back and enjoy yourself. And here's the history of body positivity. So the definition of body positivity is that it is a social movement focused on the acceptance of all bodies regardless of size, shape, skin tone, gender, and physical abilities, while challenging present-day beauty standards as an undesirable social construct. Proponents focus on the appreciation of the functionality and health of the human body instead of its physiological appearance. One of the earliest examples of body positivity, which I thought this was hilarious, was the Victorian dress reform movement in the 1850s through the 1890s. It says, as a part of the first wave of feminism from the 1850s to the 1890s, the Victorian dress reform movement aimed to put an end to the trend of women having to modify their bodies through the use of corsets and tight lacing in order to fit the societal standard of tiny waistlines. A minority of women participated in this tradition of conformity, but often ended up facing ridicule whether or not they were successful at shrinking their waistline. The practice of tight lacing proved to have many negative health risks and was also extremely uncomfortable for women who partook. Women were mocked for their egotism if they were not able to shrink their waistline, and they were criticized for too small a waistline if they were successful. This instilled a feeling of defeat in women during these times, as nothing they did seemed to satisfy their male counterparts. As part of the Victorian dress reform movement, women also fought for their right to dress in pants. Acceptance of all body types, regardless of waist measurement, was the major theme of the Victorian dress reform movement, and was the first movement of its kind. I thought that was fascinating. I had never heard of that, and in the context of body positivity, I thought it was really cool that this was in here, because I just thought that was fascinating. The first wave of body positivity can be brought back to the 1960s. The origins of the body positivity movement date back to the fat acceptance movement of the 1960s, which I thought was very interesting that the two were kind of linked to begin with. The idea of ending fat shaming served as the seed of a larger project of accepting and celebrating all bodies and body types. All bodies and body types. Remember that. And also, remember in the definition of body positivity, it says that the proponents focus on the appreciation of the functionality and health of the human body instead of its physiological appearance. The functionality and health of the human body. Remember that. Okay. Put a pin in that. Anyways, in 1967, New York radio host Steve Post held a fat-in in Central Park. He described the purpose of the event was to protest discrimination against the fat. This movement is often cited as the beginning of the fat acceptance movement. 5 months later, after the fat-in, Lew Louderback composed an essay entitled "More People Should Be Fat," as a result of him witnessing the discrimination his wife experienced as a result of her size. The piece initiated a new movement with goals of correcting fat shaming and the belief that fat is always indicative of being unhealthy. I have thoughts on that, but we'll just keep going. The essay shed light on the discrimination of fat people in America and the culture surrounding fat shaming. Louderback's contribution inspired the creation of the National Association to Accept Fat to Advance Fat Acceptance, or the NAAFA, in 1969 by Bill Fabry was the mission of ending discrimination based on body weight. The second wave of body positivity was in the 1990s, and it prioritized providing people of all sizes a place where they could comfortably come together and exercise. There were programs made specifically for overweight people, such as Making Waves, for those who were not comfortable joining a fitness community or a gym. There were dangers in dieting that were found during the 90s. Dieting was found to be ineffective and causes more physical and psychological problems and does not actually solve anything. Yo-yo dieting, yes. Lifestyle change, no. But okay, I digress. People sought help from dieting. They wanted to learn to eat again. Chronic dieting had not proven to be effective. Dieting had been used as a ploy to get people's money and does not actually work, especially in the long term. The third wave of the body positivity movement came in the 2010s, which is the one I'm most familiar with, and it says the current form of the body positivity movement arose around 2012, largely as a response to the increase of social media culture. The rise of Instagram inspired a debate about cultural standards of feminine beauty, and the body positivity movement arose as a response and argument in favor of embracing all body types, loving one's body even with any flaws, and feeling confident about one's own body. Since 2012, there has been a heightened presence of the movement. It talks about Tess Holliday and stuff and what she did. It says the movement challenged the unrealistic standards of feminine beauty like smooth skin, body size, and avoidance of any imperfections. Model and feminist Tess Holliday founded at F Your Beauty Standards, which brought an outpour of support to the body positivity movement. After founding the movement, the size 26 Holliday signed with Milk Management, a large model agency in Europe, as their first model over a size 20. Instagram has been utilized as an advertising platform for the movement since, and pioneers connect with brands and advertisers to promote and spread education about body positivity in the United States and the United Kingdom, producing a number of notable outdoor nude painting displays for plus-sized men and women. Oh, I skipped over a whole part. So that's just talking about how social media has kind of influenced the whole body positivity movement, which we all know, and that's the wave I'm most familiar with. That's kind of like a history and a definition of what body positivity is. So now I'm going to go into fat acceptance. The fat acceptance movement, also known as fat pride, fat empowerment, and fat activism, is a social movement seeking to eliminate the social stigma of fatness from social attitudes by pointing out to the general public the social obstacles faced by fat people. Areas of contention include the aesthetic, legal, and medical approaches to those whose bodies are fatter than the social norm. The modern fat acceptance movement began in the late 1960s. Besides its political role, the fat acceptance movement also continues a subculture which acts as a social group for its members. The fat acceptance movement has been criticized from several perspectives, including the medical perspective that it promotes an unhealthy lifestyle. And honestly, this basically just talks again about all the fat acceptance, the creation of the NAAFA and how it's come from there. And it says that the second wave of the fat acceptance movement became more widespread in the US and started to spread to other countries. Instead, ideas from the movement began to appear in the mainstream, and publishers became more willing to publish fat acceptance themed literature. By the 1990s, input from the fat acceptance movement began to be incorporated into research papers by some members of the medical professions, such as the anti-dieting programs and the models of obesity management. The 1980s witnessed an increase in the activist organizations, publications, and conferences. In 1989, a group of people, including actress Anne Zamberlan from the first French organization for fat acceptance, Allegro Fortissimo. Organizations began holding conferences and conventions, including the NAAFA. The third wave of fat acceptance has seen a diversification of projects during the third wave. Activities have addressed issues in both fat and race, class, sexuality, and other issues. Size discrimination has been increasingly addressed in the arts as well. Okay, so that was just like a breakdown of like how all this stuff started, what people kind of define it as, that kind of stuff, how they kind of have worked together in the past, which I thought was really interesting to read about. And yeah, so I wanted to like cover that before I kind of started giving you my thoughts and opinions on why I think fat acceptance has ruined body positivity and why I don't believe that they are the same thing. So when I was actively consuming fat acceptance content when I was younger, like I've talked about, I was also consuming body positivity content, and I was trying to be what I thought as body positive as possible. And so now, ever since kind of well, not kind of, absolutely leaving the fat acceptance realm and kind of just migrating towards more solely body positive content, but also going more to the realm of body neutrality, because that helps me a lot with my body dysmorphia. I have really come to the conclusion and can confidently say that fat acceptance and body positivity are not the same thing, and they don't just peacefully coexist together like they used to. I wish they just could peacefully coexist together like they used to, but unfortunately some of the largest fat activists or fat acceptance activists just make that impossible. In my reaction to Fat Girl Flo's video from 2016, where she was talking about what is or isn't body positive, I mentioned that those videos were what made me rethink what I knew about body positivity and the fat acceptance movement. As stated in the definition, the body positivity movement started off as a way of celebrating all body types, regardless of size, physical abilities, physical attributes, whatever, and it valued the health of human bodies and what they were capable of in their current states and whatever, which was great. And so overall, body positivity used to be a really cool thing for people just to celebrate their bodies for what they were capable and like what they looked like, regardless of what other people's bodies were capable of or looked like. And if you find the right people online, it can absolutely be that still. And I'd like to think that I'm one of those people. But more often than not, when you search up body positivity on like Instagram or whatever, you'll come across a lot of fat acceptance activists. My issue with the fat acceptance activists taking over body positivity is that they have now created like the us versus them mentality that I talked about in a previous video. They changed this movement that used to be about doing whatever felt the best for your body and what you wanted to do for your body and whatever. They've taken that and they've actively turned it into this campaign against like thin or fit people and people who have actively chosen to lose weight or get healthier. And they also spew about how society just like dogs on you as a fat person, which in my opinion, spreading that rhetoric and making it all about how society is against you is exactly what body positivity isn't. And not to mention, taken over this whole movement, which started off as a way for people to celebrate their bodies as they are now, to celebrate doing things that make them feel good, but also a movement that was extremely beneficial to people like amputees, burn survivors, those kinds of things. And they've taken it and made it into this extremely negative, stigmatized thing now online. Whereas, like, if you even talk about being body positive, you're almost kind of thrown into the same category as fat acceptance, which I think is really sad. And in hindsight, it's really sad too, because I think I entered into what I thought was body positivity when I was younger. But as the content started changing, or I just started consuming more of it and reading more of it, it was very obvious that it was fat acceptance rhetoric, but just disguised as body positivity, like telling you that your doctor's weighing you at your appointments was fat phobic, or that like society is just inherently fat phobic and whatever. It was disguised as body positivity, but really it was this dangerous fat acceptance mindset and messaging. What went from celebrating all bodies and all walks of life has turned into fat people are good, but they're oppressed and society hates them, and it's up to us as fat people to take all the thins down. And that is not what body positivity started as. They use hashtag body positivity, and they talk about body positivity, and they gatekeep body positivity, and they've turned it into something that it was never meant to be in the first place. And yeah, fat activists, they gatekeep body positivity, and they say that like thin people and fit people and people who've lost weight and whatever, basically anybody who's not fat is not allowed in body positivity anymore, which is just a crock of bullshit to me, because where the fuck is everybody else supposed to go who wants that community? Why is it now only for fat people? I would still be saying this if I was still where I was before I lost my weight. I don't understand where they all think that they are able to tell people what is and isn't body positive, when quite frankly, maybe what they're doing to their body now they see as being body positive, which like if that's the case, then like so be it. I can't do anything about that, nor do I want to. But do I think eating yourself to the point of like an early death is a good thing? No. And I say that as someone who was on that track 100% and has since changed that. And I think losing weight has been the most positive thing I have ever done for my body. And I will tell people that every single day who need to hear it. And so if you are very confused, because I know that people in like my generation and younger, we often try and find communities online that we can relate to and that we can just go to for a sense of comfort. If you're trying to find that in the body positivity movement and you're just seeing fat acceptance people, just know that that is not what body positivity started off as, and that fat acceptance activists have taken it over and ruined it. And I'm so sad that that is the case, because body positivity started off as a really beautiful thing. And I really hope that someday we can kind of move back into what body positivity started as, which is loving your body as it is now, making changes that you want to make because you want to, celebrating your health, celebrating your body's capabilities, regardless of what maybe disabilities you have or whatever, what you're capable of doing. Just overall loving your body, because it's all you have. It's the only one you've got. And I just wanted to make this video because, again, I do not think fat acceptance and body positivity are the same thing, regardless of what they may be presenting now. And history shows that it has never been the same thing and was never intended to be the same thing. They kind of coexisted together for a while, but now I feel like fat activists have just made it all the same thing, which is really, really sad, because they're gatekeeping it so hard. Don't let them keep you from being body positive, please. That's all I wanted to say in this video. That's just my thoughts and opinions on that. This was more of just like a think piece, me spewing my opinions and whatever. So leave in the comments below what you think. And yeah, that's all I have to say for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, drink your water, take your meds, and I will see you in the next one. Okay.